Hello, phenomenal humans of the interwebs! I am Ellie. This is Rodney. Welcome to eSpot Live. Happy Monday! I hope today has been a great day for y'all. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I've already got Silly and Panda in the chat, so that is super exciting! I always like to start eSpot Live with disclaimers. Today's disclaimer is a very hopeful one. I tweaked my interwebs yet again, so we'll have to see if this works, but when I ran a test literally seconds before I went live, it was working better than it has in a few weeks. So fingers crossed it's gonna be a smooth stream. I will need y'all's feedback, as always, just so I know how it's going. If anything kind of goes wonky, I can do my best to fix it. Past few times, it's been something out of my control. So yeah, I don't know for sure if it's... I hope it's better. That's my disclaimer. No clue what's going on with the interwebs. But, welcome. I'm excited. Silly says audio and video are clear today. Yes! Score! I'll take it! Here's to hoping that it will remain so. That's the biggest disclaimer I have, aside from the fact that it is Monday, so there's that. I am really excited about today's episode, and am really hoping it goes smoothly. Which, frankly, when compared to the last several, won't take much. So we're gonna cling to that as a win. If it even kind of works, we'll be real good off. I don't know if I Englished that correctly, but that's fine. With all of that being said, let's jump straight into the babbly topics for today. If you are new here, then you should know that eSpot Live is a show where I get my hands on some entertainment news topics, and I just babble about them. We have a nice chat, and it's a good time. So, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome. Let's go. First up, okay. So, it is a little known fact, so little known that I didn't know until learning about this topic, that Ubisoft generate product ideas by writing game names, mediums, target audiences, and different aspects like that on scraps of paper, popping them into a big hat, and then drawing a handful in order to discover their next kind of project. This is a foolproof system, and it has recently produced Mr. Men and Little Miss books based on Assassin's Creed. Which is kind of fantastic. So essentially the system produced a combination of Assassin's Creed book as the medium, for children but really for parents as the target audience, and Mr. Men crossover was thrown in there too. So this has led to Ubisoft announcing a series of Mr. Men and Little Miss books starring the characters of Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft's announcement reads, by mixing the Assassin's Creed sense of adventure and history with the colorful and delightful designs of the Little Mr. Men, these books will appeal to both young and adult readers. Follow Mr. Ezio, Little Miss Cassandra, and Little Miss Eivor, I think I mispronounced that, that's okay, as they each try to complete their own missions in the first 3 books of this series. Silly's in the chat going, I love Little Miss books and Assassin's Creed. Again, not the crossover that I anticipated, but one that I just greatly appreciate the existence of. Yeah, so at least 3 books. It's a series. It's ongoing. They are illustrated by the son of creator Roger Hargreaves, who took over the series after his father's death. Adam Hargreaves later sold the rights, but he still draws them. So, yeah. Presumably, these books will be bought with great delight by the sort of parents who swaddle their children in merch. You never know what kind of combo you're gonna get there. Yeah, there's just that everything is fantastic about this. As Silly says, maybe not the crossover we deserve, but the crossover we need. feel like this hat of random topics just saw into the current global situation and just, you know, I don't know. The universe spoke this into existence. But in all honesty, I think that this is absolutely hilarious, amongst other things. Along with books based on Doctor Who, Mr. Men and Little Miss have a For Grown-Ups line, including books about office parties and online dating. Ubisoft also announced a load of other new Assassin's Creed novels, graphic novels, and other things as well. There's some more conventional stuff, but who knows? Who knows what they'll draw out of the hat tomorrow? I always have absolutely adored, and I think some of the best works come from that kind of sort of random prompts and brainstorming. Panda says online dating? Yeah, little Mr. Men and Little Miss Assassin's Creed books that address online dating, amongst other things, apparently. It's it's a super fun system. Like I said, I just love this. I think it reminds me of a project I did. I say project. I wrote something years ago back in high school that was based on essentially I went around asking different people for prompts, and I think that the expectation was that I was going to pick a prompt, and I combined them all. And I should find that story. It was probably my best written work. Good times. But yeah, go check it out if any of that is interesting to you. I think, again, it's mostly just hilarious and fantastic, and I love creative people. I love what they do with things. And I also love the creativity and I can't think of a word for it, but just laid backness, like relinquishing of control that is required to literally chuck things in a hat and pull out prompts. So yeah. Panda says, that's wonderful. I concur. Anyways, moving right along. Next up to chat about is Mortal Kombat. There's a transition for you. Specifically, the latest Mortal Kombat movie adaptation, and something that is kind of sad because we just learned of a deleted scene, a cut scene that included a Toasty Easter egg. So this game has a well-known gag, well-known gag throughout the series, starting back in Mortal Kombat 2, I think is when it first popped up in the game and kind of spread to different games from there. But yeah, the Toasty gag fought a hard battle, but unfortunately ended up on the cutting room floor, as many brilliant lines and scenes do in the filming process. Which brings up a fun point that I will talk about a little bit later, about just kind of the process of filmmaking that people don't necessarily think about. Like, maybe you know, maybe you don't. But this brings up an interesting example of that. So, just to dive in a little deeper, you know, there's been so many installments in the beloved fighting game franchise. Mortal Kombat's been around a minute. Fans were both thrilled and also slightly terrified of the possibility of this feature film adaptation. And now that the film has officially been released, fan verdicts seem to be somewhat satisfied with what's being introduced. Which sounds kind of like a very negative review. But I feel like when you're dealing with an adaptation, fans being somewhat satisfied is like the most glowing review you can possibly get. I think people are like, we'll see. Like, there's a lot of potential here, but as with any adaptation, it can still go wrong in future installments, so we'll have to see how it goes. So, like, the 1996 film include no-holds-barred fighting tournaments, as seen in many of the games, but this film, the action centers around MMA fighter Cole Young's battle to rid the Earth realm of encroachment by Outer World warriors sent by its Emperor Shang Tsung. This is a relatively new direction for what many fans really are hoping will become a strong film franchise. But of course, all fans love to see Easter eggs in the film franchises, right? Taking just a second to address the chat. Silly saying, I think that's about the gold standard for video game adaptations. Also, the most fans can really hope for. Right? That idea of like, okay, yeah, like that's somewhat satisfied. I think this is gonna be alright. Like, I agree that's like, it's as good as you can possibly get with a video game adaptation in particular. Like, really any adaptation. There's going to be people who love it. There's going to be people who hate it. But like, if most people can look at it and go, yeah, I see where you're going with this, and I have hope. Like, that for me is a massively good sign. So yeah, glowing reviews. Yeah, so like any major gaming franchise, Mortal Kombat has had more than its share of gags and famous moments that have persisted throughout the life of the extensive series. Incorporating these into the new film was not an easy task, especially kind of with the different direction they were running with. And unfortunately, many had to be cut along the way. So one particular enduring gag within the Mortal Kombat gaming series of the years has been the inclusion of Toasty. The word is delivered in a high-pitched warble that I cannot recreate, and I will not try, I'm sorry, while a quick glimpse of Mortal Kombat designer Dan Forden appears in the lower right hand of the screen whenever an especially savage uppercut connects. This joke first began back in 1993 in Mortal Kombat 2, before expanding to other installments of the game. During a recent interview with Polygon, Mortal Kombat screenwriter Greg Russo explained how the Toasty line was originally included as an Easter egg in the new film, but ultimately ended up being cut. He's quoted as saying, I worked really hard to get the line Toasty in there. It had a spot in the story that didn't feel cringe, like it worked, but it was edited out. One of the characters said it after someone was eviscerated. It seemed to work. The original gag originated... That was a lot of originating in one sentence, that's fine. As a bit of a, like, off-the-cuff trash talk between Forden and Mortal Kombat creator Ed Boon. Whenever they'd play the games against one another, it was Boon who was eventually responsible for Toasty's inclusion in the actual games. It's often misheard by many Mortal Kombat fans for years as Whoopsie. Toasty's likely to be... It's one of the wider-known Mortal Kombat jokes that fans would have liked to see incorporated into the new films. And what we found is that the writer, fought for it to get in there. Really tried hard. So Russo pointed out that getting the line into the film required finding a point in the story where its inclusion didn't feel forced, didn't feel cringy, where it kind of worked. Much easier said than done. And although the right spot and moment seemed to have been found, they were subsequently cut. There is always the possibility that it could appear on a Blu-ray release or maybe a director's cut down the road. Some fans might feel a little let down to know that Toasty came very close to actually being included in Mortal Kombat before being cut. The integrity of the film obviously comes first and foremost. So it's definitely a historic moment. Fun line. But even the most beloved little details sometimes have to be sacrificed when adapting material. Also, cutting the line is not a big enough deal to have, like, any sort of lasting effect on the film. In the end, a solid film adaptation is what matters most, and that, I think, is what we got. Wolf's here! Hello! Thank you for your 6-month subscription streak. You're awesome. Woo! Into his house. Good to see you here. Yeah, just chatting a little bit about film adaptation, specifically in this case Mortal Kombat, so game to film adaptation. What I wanted to chat about, I mentioned this kind of towards the beginning of the topic, that I wanted to go like a little bit rabbit trail here. Wow, go on a little bit of a rabbit trail here. Enunciation is key. Just not one of my skills. what I wanted to chat about is like, and I've talked a little bit before, I think more so from an acting perspective of just how many people are involved in the filming process, right? And how much or how little power lies in specific hands. So something like this, a line being filmed and cut. This is going through so many people. So first of all, we have the screenwriter, right? We have Russo himself, found a way to work it into the script. And then you have the director, who, you know, may or may not make some changes on the day of filming. A lot of times what you see on the script is not exactly what comes out on screen, and that can be for many, many reasons. That can be because of a flub, that take worked better than some of the other takes. It could be because of an ad-lib. It could be because the director kind of wanted to go a slightly different direction and maybe cut some things out or like switch things around. So many things happen in the process of filming. And in this case, when something is written and then filmed, it does not guarantee that it makes it into the movie, because you have an editor who is an entirely different human than the director in many, many cases. Not in every case. Sometimes you have a lot of overlap in who creates a film, but like the larger the budget, the more different people are involved. And oftentimes what you will see is that the end product is an amalgamation of all of these different intricate pieces, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily who you'd think. You know, when people think of a film, you think of usually actors and directors, right? Those are the people who make the film. And I think people think that they have a lot more power than really they do. An actor can make a creative suggestion. They can do that in a couple of ways. They can say a line in a few different ways. They can ad-lib a line here or there, depending on the work situation. That's not always appropriate. It doesn't always happen. But they're not the ones who decide what ends up in the film. They have no say over that whatsoever. I talked about this a lot, I think, when in the topic of the voice actor who is getting absolutely spammed because a different cut of the game came out and people didn't like her voice in the new cut. That had nothing to do with the voice actor. She didn't go in and re-record lines. She didn't go in and demand things be changed. She had most likely recorded all of it in one chunk and given several performances for each line that somebody else then decided to put into the game. And so this, I feel like, is a very similar kind of concept. But I'm a film nerd. I love the behind-the-scenes process. I love all of this, and I love any chance to kind of babble about it a little bit. So I just wanted to kind of point that out, that this is an instance, like I said, where you have nerds behind the scenes, all working together, but all with different visions. And so you have the writer doing one thing, the director doing another, and the editor all ultimately deciding what made a cohesive film. And those people are in those roles for a reason. I'm sure the line was cut for a reason, whether that's timing, or, you know, if that and other smaller lines ended up pushing the film over the time limit, they might cut specific lines for that reason. There's so much that goes into that. So yeah, I just thought that was a fantastic topic to nerd out about, and y'all are welcome for that. Anyway, next up is Spider-Verse. Specifically, again, a little bit behind the scenes, because I love this stuff. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out in 2018. Fantastic, phenomenal, beautiful film that I love. And the animator in a recent interview has come out and kind of shared which scene was the hardest to animate. And it's not what you would think, and it has nothing to do with the artistic difficulty, which is interesting. So if you haven't seen the film, it's got a very kind of zippy visual style. It earned near unanimous critical praise. As Silly says, aka one of the best films ever made. Guys, it was brilliant. I am not gonna lie, I kind of avoided watching it when it came out. I wasn't entirely sure about how it was gonna be. I don't dislike animated films, but I'm kind of picky about what I watch in animated films. And then, I finally bit the bullet and watched it, and I regretted not seeing it in theaters, because it's a masterpiece, guys. It's brilliant. I could just go on about this, but let's continue on with the actual topic, right? So on Friday, the film's lead animator, Nick Kondo, took to Twitter to share his thoughts on the most difficult shot in the movie to animate. This film, guys, was brimming with unique characters, colors, action scenes, the animation style in and of itself was just chef's kiss. It was a beautiful film, and Kondo ended up highlighting a very surprisingly quiet, though very, very pivotal moment in the film as the hardest thing for him to animate. So his little bit on Twitter ended up saying, "I suppose as the years passed and I digested my experiences working on the film, it was this run of shots. Jeff, Miles, and Aaron in the alleyway that suddenly came leaping to my mind." So the clip Kondo shared comes from a moment in the film after Miles Morales experiences the betrayal and death of his uncle Aaron, aka Prowler. Miles is confronted by his father Jeff, who is a New York City police officer, in an alleyway. Jeff does not recognize Miles at this point in time, and so the prospective Spider-Man is forced to make an escape without revealing his identity. Kondo ended up reflecting on Miles' psychological state in that particular scene, and he spoke on how he drew from his own personal experience with grief in order to properly animate the shots. It is a devastating emotional load on Miles, and to try to put myself in his shoes, I dug back to when I lost my dad, suddenly and unexpectedly just after college, remembering the crushing feeling of getting the midnight call to find out he was gone. Kondo also provided other details behind the sequence's animation, such as changing the position of Jeff's firearm, and a playful Easter egg of the character's gun disassembling for an instant. So there was a lot that went into that particular scene, a lot of little details that you don't think about, but what was actually difficult for him to animate was the emotional state of the character. Which I'm going to be honest, as much as I'm a nerd about behind the scenes, I know less about visual art, and so I've never really thought that hard about that before. I've thought about it from an acting perspective, about what you kind of have to dig into to give a certain performance, right? And I think a lot of modern animation is mocap, right? And so they kind of get as much of the actor's performance as possible. And I'm not saying that didn't happen. I don't know if they used mocap or anything like that, but this particular scene goes to show that it was the animator who had to kind of go in and dig into that deep sense of grief, that place of just emotional weight in order to properly animate that scene. And that is amazing and beautiful for me and so fun to learn. Because like I said, as much of a geek as I am, I didn't really think about that. So this gave me that to think about, and I appreciate that. So hopefully I'm like throwing it back at y'all. Silly saying that scene is one of the most powerful in the whole movie. I agree, and so beautifully done. It really, really is. The movie itself deals with quite a few, there's so many powerful moments in it. I don't know how else to say it. There's so many fantastic and powerful moments in that film, and that was most definitely one of them. But yeah, I don't tend to, I'm thinking back to it, and I'm pretty sure I cried. I think I cried actually a couple of times watching that movie, and I don't cry often when watching movies in general, and I cry less often when it's animated. And so, yeah, this film definitely, it got me in the feeler, in the best way possible. I don't know when this turned into a pitch to go watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but go watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We're just gonna do that. Also, since I'm pitching that, go watch the sequel when it comes out, because there's a sequel coming out. I'm so excited. The sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is currently in production. Animation production takes a long time, so it's not coming out. It's not coming out this year, but it is slated to come out next year. So Sony Pictures Animation recently announced a trio of directors helming the project, and the film is set to hit theaters on October 7th of 2022. I'm just going to throw out the personal disclaimer that there's a lot up in the air right now, and release dates are being shuffled quite a bit. But that date makes me so hopeful. I'm also hopeful because of the timing of it that theaters might be safely reopened by then. Because I missed out on seeing the first one in theaters. Oh, me of little faith. But, I don't want to miss the second one in theaters. Panda's saying, ooh, sequel! I concur. And Silly says it's the Up of superhero movies. Oh, Up to. That got me. I'm pretty sure I cried at the beginning of Up. Also, since I'm pitching random movies and saying people need to watch them years later, go watch Up. Mostly because one of the characters' names is Ellie, which is the best name, for obvious reasons. Yeah, okay. That's all I got on that particular topic, unless y'all have thoughts on it. What we've learned so far is that I am a nerd, and I love it. Next up, Dead by Daylight. So, Dead by Daylight, developer Behavior Interactive, shares surveys about its game every now and again, in order to kind of gauge players' opinions on different matters. Another one of those... I just realized my camera went out of focus. I'm moving around too much. There we go. We're good. These surveys kind of tend to focus, you know, on specific topics, like changes for mechanics or characters. Some are more generalized. But they consistently have interesting questions, which look ahead to Dead by Daylight's future and what future content might look like. A recent one just kind of went around, and perhaps the most interesting part of the latest survey is a specific section that asks players about potential licenses that they would like to see added to the game, with Demon Slayer, the anti-hero spawn, and more popular IPs included as possible choices in the questionnaire. So they have like a whole list of unrelated licenses that they're asking what people would like to see in the game. That brings up so many questions, and all of them are exciting. Wolf's in the chat, shout out real quick, saying, great game, tricky to play. Good to know. I've been on my journey of trying to learn to play video games, which has been a lot of fun. I'm not very good at it, which I kind of love. But then, see, I say I'm not very good at it. I don't know if I'm not very good at it or if I'm just trying tricky games. Which apparently you shouldn't play if you don't know, like, what buttons to press to move in regular games. Panda saying Dead by Daylight is so much fun. See, now I'm curious. It's weird wanting to play games. This has never happened to me before. What is happening? Anyways, so this new survey, interesting, because they're asking about crossover ideas. I didn't see that coming. I don't think many people saw that coming at all. I will say, just to temper expectations ahead of time, it is worth noting, first, that an IP being listed in one of the survey's drop-down menus does not mean that it is going to be added to the game. Dead by Daylight has shown it's got plenty of pull to bring in DLC from other properties, ranging from Stranger Things to the Silent Hill series, but there are a ton of properties listed in the survey, so it is 100% unrealistic to imagine all or most of them coming to the game in the future. That being said, the IPs listed in the survey are quite interesting themselves and really exciting as well. And so it's worth hoping that I think one of them might be considered for Dead by Daylight. If you check out the survey, you know, you'll find question 17 asking which possible license would you be most interested in seeing added to Dead by Daylight. So that's kind of the phrasing of it. The options are divided into 4 different categories: movies/TV, anime, video games, and comics, with survey takers able to pick one option from each category. So who knows what we're going to end up seeing? Scooby-Doo, Final Fantasy. There are so many options there. Maybe not one of those bigger names. But who knows? Maybe they're added for a reason. Maybe it's just to try to get a general idea. I'm sorry, Rodney, I bumped you there a little bit. A general idea of what kind of sorts of answers people gravitate towards. So that would give Behavior Interactive kind of an idea of the type of content people want it to be. So if they want serious content or playful content or somewhere in between content, this survey will definitely be helpful for that. But who knows? Like I said, we've seen their poll go in different directions before, so maybe they have the poll to get a big name in there. I just want to be absolutely clear that I cannot guarantee that, and I'm not promising that in any way, shape, or form. You heard it here first. Ellie is not promising anything. But this is super exciting, just to kind of think and play around with. The same survey also asks about Dead by Daylight's original characters and what kind of games players would like to see them licensed to. But the answers to that consist only of video game genres and not specific games, so that one's a little bit different. But yeah, that's a lot of crossover theme for one survey, so I don't know what they have up their sleeves. I just know that it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited on behalf of fans of the game, as well as all of these random genres that they're potentially throwing in there. Also, the next known crossover for Dead by Daylight is the Resident Evil content, which is set to come out sometime in June. So there's that to look forward to, if nothing else. In the chat really quick, Panda says, I definitely voted for Scooby-Doo in the movies TV category. That is amazing. And then Silly says, all I can think is somehow this is going to end up in a Bodie McBoatface situation, and I don't know what that would look like here. Also, I vote Scooby-Doo for any crossover ever. True that. Speaking of Scooby-Doo crossovers, when the Scooby-Doo Supernatural crossover was released, I originally thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Just fantastic. All of that being said, I think this is a beautiful time for our regularly scheduled Hydrate or Dihydrate! Wow, I tried so hard to make that exciting, and I just kind of feel awkward about it. But that's my status quo, is just feeling awkward. Yeah, anyways, go drink water. I'm going to. That's about it. Are we pulling into hydration station? Yes! Sorry, I like rhymes. Hydration station! This is where I lecture y'all to drink water, and that is the keyword. There's one keyword here, and it is water, even more so than hydration or dehydration or stations or drinking any of it. Just water is the keyword here, because your kidneys need that in order to, like, survive. So be kind to your kidneys. I learned that the hard way, and I'm sharing that knowledge with y'all. I'll be right back. am back. Just goes to show that it does not take very long to drink water. Okay, I'm off my high horse now. That was fun. Also, I appreciate that what happened in the chat while I was on break. We had Panda say that Jedi Roxy is busy, but she wanted me to say Team Chucky Milk after water. And I said, Jedi Roxy can come say that to my face! But mostly because I miss seeing her in the chat. Alright, anywho. Next up to chat about, let's talk charity a little bit. Specifically a charity that is being endorsed by Brie Larson. So those are two things that I enjoy. Brie Larson and charities. For those of you who don't necessarily know, Brie Larson is known for playing Captain Marvel, among other things, and she has recently voiced her support for disabled gamers charity, Able Gamers. In a video that she shared to her Twitter account, Larson encouraged fans to donate to the charity, saying, using the power of video games to bring people together and provide people with disabilities custom gaming setups so that they can enjoy video games too is just absolutely incredible. Larson is no stranger to the gaming community. She is a vocal gamer herself, known for being a fan of Animal Crossing and Fortnite. She even recently got her own Fortnite Locker bundle. A little bit more on Able Gamers. Able Gamers has been working for over a decade now to ensure anyone can game, regardless of their abilities. Creating a unique and accessible setup can often prove to be rather expensive, so Able Gamers aims to break down this economic barrier to inclusive gaming. Larson's support comes as games media figure Alana Pierce is spearheading a funding drive for that charity. So at the time of my little blurb being written, Pierce has raised $14,523 USD and is hoping to hit a goal of $50,000. This fundraiser is just one of many ongoing in support of Able Gamers, with multiple currently collecting as part of the Spawn Together event. Should every fundraiser in the event reach its goal, it would send $1 million to the cause of ensuring that everyone can game. The Spawn Together initiative marks Able Gamers COO Steven Spohn's 40th birthday, and is in aid of helping him fulfill his dream of raising a total of $1 million for gamers with disabilities in his lifetime. All the participants are making good progress, currently sitting at 719,209. Again, that was at the time of my blurb being written. With the event only starting in March, it appears to be on track for its September 15th goal, but we shall see. Able Gamers has received celebrity backing in the past, so this isn't necessarily the first time. Last year, fellow comic book star Ryan Reynolds promoted the charity, sharing the mission of Able Gamers to his own Twitter followers and encouraging them to donate to the cause. This cause has been backed by Captain Marvel and Deadpool, so get on it. That's essentially what I'm saying here. Not really. I'm not necessarily trying to pressure anybody into anything, but it's an awesome cause. It's something that's so important and so easy to just not think about, right? Kind of like, but very, very different to what I was talking about, how people don't necessarily actively think about everything that goes into making a film or a video game or something like that. And even I will think about certain aspects because I've gotten the amazing opportunity to be part of different aspects of the filmmaking process. This is another one of those things where a lot of times people take gaming for granted, right? And you don't necessarily think about something that's like so simple and so easy for just traditionally abled people. Yeah, all that to say, I think it's just really easy to kind of take it for granted and not necessarily actively think about the people who require a specific setup just to game, right? Or require different settings to game. So, yeah. Great cause. Check it out. Able Gamers. If you're a fan of Brie Larson, there you go. If you're a fan of gaming, there you go. There we go. I don't know how my brain was trying to wrap that up. I had other things I think that I thought I wanted to say, but I'm pretty sure I said it all. So, to the chat! Silly saying, I really want to see a Deadpool Captain Marvel crossover now. Deadpool would fangirl so hard. Yes. to all of that. Yes, I want to see it happen, and yes, Deadpool would fangirl so hard. Oh, I would love that. So much. Anyways, fun stuffs. Wolf says gaming is serious work. It is. All the way around. I think, creating games is serious work, and playing games is serious work. And I think for some people it's relaxing, and for some people it is legitimate work, and everyone should have the right to both, right? It shouldn't be a gatekept hobby or job. Silly saying Deadpool would introduce Captain Marvel to all of Taylor Swift. So much. Just yes. So much yes in that idea. It would have to be it would have to be a Deadpool movie though, because if Deadpool came onto like the Marvel MCU and into a Captain Marvel, he'd be too muted. So we have to petition to get Captain Marvel to like cameo in a Deadpool film so he can fangirl and introduce her to all of Taylor Swift. That's my official pitch. It's on the internet now. I carry so much sway in that world. Alright, next up. Let's chat World of Warcraft. Obviously, if y'all have more comments on previous topics, feel free to comment on them, and I'll get back to them. Like this. Silly says, I'll start the petition. I'm counting on you, Silly. If I start the petition, then I'll have more of a following. I genuinely don't know that I will. But I appreciate your vote of confidence there. We'll see. We'll see what we can scrape together as far as official petitions to get Captain Marvel on. I honestly think what would be more successful than a petition would be a tweet to Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Back to World of Warcraft. A new World of Warcraft book is now available to pre-order, and this one is centered around one of the series' most prominent characters. Warcraft Sylvanas will be released on November 9th, written by Christy Golden. An audiobook will also be available, voiced by Patty Mattson, who plays Sylvanas in World of Warcraft, so that is me nerding out right here. You have the voice actor of the character reading the book. Anyways. So, Sylvanas, I hope I'm not butchering that name, but that's okay. Windrunner has been the central figure of the Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands expansions, and she is in the middle of a long game of four-dimensional chess. While some World of Warcraft novels are about bridging the gap between expansions and wrapping up certain stories, Sylvanas will likely be closer to Arthas, Rise of the Lich King, or Illidan. I need new glasses, guys! I haven't even had to take them off yet, and my brain is like, I can't read words. That's okay. Anyways, it'll be more like that in that it'll be a character study. So this book goes back to Sylvanas' early life and tracks her progression through Warcraft 3 and early World of Warcraft before sharing her current status and goals. It is an interesting time for Sylvanas, as she is currently planned as the final boss of the 9.1 raid, Sanctum of Domination. Players are currently unsure what happens to Sylvanas after the fight. In recent history, we haven't been killing important lore characters too often. Instead, we often injure or capture them, which means their story can continue in later patches. So this book may play into the raid, or take place after the events of the fight. It'll also likely iron out past discrepancies and establish the canon timeline of Sylvanas' plot and plans. Panamental says I'm saying the name right. Yes! And that they're hyped for this book. Yes. I, even as someone who doesn't know as much about this particular topic, just from that nerd perspective, like I said, I'm hyped because they got the voice actress in to voice the book, which tells me a couple of things. Including the fact that they just put a lot into this particular story for fans of the game, and I think that's super important. So the thing we should get Rick Moranis and LeVar Burton involved too. Is this in the Are we getting them involved in the petition to get Captain Marvel cameoed on Deadpool, or are we getting them involved in World of Warcraft? Or both. I'm down for both. That I know the LeVar Burton reference was referring to the petition to get him as the host of Jeopardy. Yeah, sorry, related to the petition. I mean, they're welcome to WoW, too. All of it. We'll just get everybody involved everywhere all the time. That's how this works. Anyways, that's all I have on WoW for the day. Super stoked. Panda and just several people are all super, super excited for this. And I like getting excited for things on behalf of other people. So I'm stoked too. I'm like super, super nerdy stoked about this particular book. Anywho, moving right along. Sony has filed a new petition recently. Not petition. Gosh, Silly's got me caught on petitions. Patent. Different word. Very different meaning. So Sony has filed a patent recently. And discovering what it was for was a bit of a journey. It's a patent for an AI that's supposed to play your games and judge you. Which is kind of fantastic. So let me kind of explain this a little bit, because obviously there's always a hook. This is just, I love everything about this. Anyways, because who wouldn't want an AI to sit there and play Backseat Gamer? I feel like it'd be like a version of kind of what goes on my gaming stream, where people try to like gently teach me how to play games while I'm just awkwardly live on Twitch. That kind of looks like what might be happening thanks to a recently revealed Sony patent. So this patent is for an automated artificial intelligence, AI, control mode specifically designed to perform certain tasks, which include playing a game while the player is away. So in the patent, which was spotted by Segment Next, it's detailed that this AI will involve assigning a default gameplay profile to a specific user. This profile will include a whole bunch of information detailing the player's gaming habits, play styles, and decision-making processes while sitting down for a new adventure. This knowledge can then be harnessed to simulate the player's gaming habits, even when said gamer is away from their platform of choice. The patent itself reads, quote, "The method includes monitoring a plurality of gameplays of the user playing a plurality of gaming applications. The method includes generating a user gameplay profile of the user by adjusting the default gameplay style based on the plurality of gameplays, wherein the user gameplay profile includes a user gameplay style customized to the user. The method includes controlling an instance of a first gaming application based on the user gameplay style of the user gameplay profile." I love legalese. It's just fantastically complicated, usually where it doesn't need to be. That essentially is what I just had said before, in that it analyzes your gameplay style across a couple of different, or several different applications, several different platforms, etc. And it learns to mimic that. The bright side of this is that it's not the usual backseat gamer, which I wouldn't know anything about, because all of the people who have what is apparently backseat gamered my stream have been lovely and helpful, and I appreciate them. But I guess oftentimes you'll get people kind of yelling at you or berating you for dying a lot. This is designed, according to the documentation, to be able to offer a player tips if it notices that you're struggling with any given in-game activity. Jumping puzzles, discovering a hidden location, anything like that it can kind of help with. Effectively, this robot will help you get good with those games that offer a challenge that might just be considered too much. This would be my best friend right now, but instead my best friend are the lovely peoples who watch me game and help me when I'm lost, which is often. Thank you, Silly, and G-Man, and other people who come. Shameless shout out. Anyways, so yeah, this also can be really cool from that accessibility angle that we kind of chatted about before. there's many different kinds of differently abled people out there, and this could be really, really cool platform to kind of work with that a little bit. Could be a really helpful tool navigating the game space for people with unique or different needs. It's honestly completely fascinating. I love technology. It scares the heck out of me because I don't understand it. AI is nothing new. AI in games is nothing new. The gaming industry, I think more so than many other industries, have really leaned into this technology for many, many years. So, if this sounds scary, it's not. This is just kind of like a different utilization of technology that's been around for a while. There's jokes, there's Skynet jabs, there's all of that, but it really, really could be a super useful tool as the industry continues to make strides in the name of accessibility. So, all jokes aside, this AI that sits there and judges you does so in a way where it, like, judges your decision making in that it watches and analyzes. Anyways, I think it's awesome. It's a little bit concerning, mostly because I feel like if it were to watch me play, it'd just be disappointed in me. Also, it'd be super fun to just kind of, like, break down the analytics of it, right? To, like, if I had a friend who used the technology, the software, and then I used it just to then put game styles side by side. It's just fascinating. Everything about this is fascinating. I love it. There you go, though. That's all I got on that. Wolf says the Red Dot Games was AI. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I think that other people who game will know what that means. I game. I'm just very new to it. But yeah, I do know that there's a lot of AI in games, so there's that. I have one more topic that I do want to cover before I wrap up for the night, and that is SNL. Because SNL is fantastic, but also Elon Musk is going to be hosting next month. Talk about crossovers that I didn't see coming. I don't even know if I need to expand. I need to expand on this. Okay, so Saturday Night Live. For those of you who do not know, first of all, how? I feel like I don't want to get judgy. Whenever I find out that somebody has not heard of something that I've managed to hear about, or that I had managed to hear about, even when I didn't have any pop culture knowledge at all, like SNL, it's impressive to me. Silly says, ugh, Elon Musk, why? I am intrigued, to say the least. Again, not the crossover I saw coming. Anyways, for those of you who don't know much about SNL, it's a weekly sketch comedy show created by Lorne Michaels in 1975. The show features a new host and musical guest every week. There have been many, many notable hosts. There's been Alec Baldwin, Steve Martin, Tom Hanks, and SNL has served as a career launchpad for many actors and writers in the television industry, including, but not limited to, the Tonight Show host Jimmy Fallon, dynamic comedy duo Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. SNL's got a rich history of... Sorry, I got a little distracted by the chat. Panda's calling me out in a good way. Don't want to get judgy. It gets a little bit judgy. Yeah. What I think I meant to say was I don't want this to come across as judgy, and then I just came across as judgy. I do that sometimes. I apologize. Anywho. So yeah, that's SNL. Musk, on the other hand, if you don't know who Elon Musk is, again, I'm impressed more than anything. Pop culture and business icon. Like, a very different form of pop culture. Obviously, or I guess, see, I feel like now I'm, like, over-analyzing my language, and I'm like, everybody knows this, and if not, then I'm being judgy. Okay. Even if it was just teasing. Yeah. So, again, Elon Musk, primarily known as the CEO and architect of Tesla, an electric car company, also the founder of SpaceX with the goal to increase space tourism and colonization on the planet Mars. Additionally, one of the wealthiest people on the planet, holding a net worth of, I don't even know what it's at now. Like, it raises ridiculously, kind of fairly recently. We're in hundreds of billions range. Like, it's massive amounts of money there. Due to his inherently bold business ventures and, yeah, I don't... I was about to say something that would have sounded really judgy, and I'm not trying to do that. So, very bold business adventures, some controversial business adventures. Musk has captured and remained in the public eye for some time. He's gotten a lot of praise, but also a lot of public backlash. He's exhibited less than ideal behavior regarding business investors and the leadership of Tesla. But he is still heralded as a technological visionary. Silly saying could spend his money being Batman, but instead he's going a more Lex Luthor route, but more lame. I'm gonna just leave that as a direct quote. I want to go to space. And I do appreciate that someone's trying to make that happen. I don't think I'll ever have the money to join in those ventures. But we'll see. Anywho, so yeah, that's SNL. That's Musk. Interesting combo, to be sure. So NBC has announced that Musk is set to host SNL on May 8th. Which, and this might be my favorite part of this, is going to feature Miley Cyrus as a musical guest. Miley Cyrus is no stranger to SNL. This will actually mark her 6th performance as a musical guest. She last appeared in November of 2020. But, like, my brain cannot put Miley Cyrus and Elon Musk on the same stage. It just can't do it, and I'm excited. If only just for that brain explosion that will occur. Also, seeing Silly's comment, I feel if you anger him enough, he'll send you to space. Maybe not with oxygen, though. Oh, but it would be a heck of a, like, 0.02 seconds, though. Anyways, in my geekiness, I don't know if we've covered this on this particular show. I'm slightly obsessed with sci-fi. I think we all knew this. I'm also slightly obsessed with space. And I have been for a very, very, very long time. So yeah, like, oh gosh. I once worked at a coffee chain, and we'll just leave that at that. And I was kind of known for pulling people out of, like, their rote habits with things that I would say on the headset. That was both to customers coming through the drive-thru. I'd like to ask them random questions. And then I would also do that to my coworkers when there were no customers on the headset. And I once very specifically asked in detail about if we were, as humanity, in our lifetimes, were given the option to... I first asked, I think, travel to and colonize Mars, would you go? And then I asked, okay, well, what if it could be a round trip? Still noting that you're going to give up years of your life just for the journey, but still... Like, would you go, stay for a year or two, and then come back, or go to just colonize it? And everybody was kind of saying no, mostly based on the fact of, like, everything that could go wrong on the journey. And my response was, like, it doesn't even matter because I got to go to space. Like, I was just like, it can't even go that wrong. Because if it goes wrong in space, it's... Like, I don't know how to say this without sounding super morbid, but if you're on a spaceship to Mars and something goes wrong, it's not something you're going to have to be worried about for very long. I don't know what that says about me, but, like, 100% would go space. Anyways, that was a fun little tidbit into the mind of Ellie. Y'all are welcome. Back to SNL! We've seen Musk do many, many things in his career on Twitter, etc. He has yet to dip his hat into... Dip his hat? Tip his hat? I don't know where I was going with that. Put on the hat. Dip his toes. I don't know. He has yet to try the world of comedy. There we go. Comedy television in particular. And we've already seen anything can happen on SNL. The show is live. And so, so he says dip his toe. Yeah, we got there eventually. It's fine. And then Wolf says, let's travel. I'm game. Shoot for the stars. Heck yeah, going to space. Anyways, yeah, Saturday Night Live is live, which I know sounds kind of silly, but some live shows are like in front of a live audience, but not live when you... Anyways, the live nature of SNL makes it very, very different than a lot of shows like that, and so, I'm curious to see what direction they're gonna take this. It'll be also interesting to see, that was worded weirdly, but that's okay, whether or not Musk's appearance on SNL will encourage other business and tech moguls to throw their hat into the ring. There was an idiom that kind of worked. To host the SNL. It's a really famed hosting gig. Like I said, it's thrown a lot of people into the spotlight. It's also like had a lot of people who have been in the spotlight bring that spotlight to SNL, which I think is what they're hoping for here. SNL's ratings have taken a bit of a dive as of late, both due to kind of COVID. They had a month-long hiatus this past winter, as well as just like an overall decrease in viewership throughout the last few seasons. I think a huge part of that just has to do with live cable network TV shifting away from being people's priorities. When you can watch something or reruns on a streaming service, it changes things. Anywho, I just saw Silly's comment, throw his toe into the ring. Yeah. Ring their toes into the hat. I don't even know. Anyways, recent episodes this season have featured Nick Jonas, SNL alum Maya Rudolph, known for her comedic portrayal of Vice President Kamala Harris. But even with kind of bringing in the big guns, the ratings and viewings have kind of dipped lower and lower. So maybe that because Musk is kind of known in a different world than a lot of their typical guests are, maybe they're hoping that his appearance on SNL will draw in a larger and more varied segment of viewership for the late night comedy show. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, all the way around. And a lot of SNL is like, it makes fun of itself. It makes fun of the people on the show. It does call outs to a lot of different things, and I'm just so curious as how this is gonna go. I might tune in and watch it, and I've never actually watched a full live episode of it. Am I allowed to say that? Oh well, I just did. And Silly also had said, I mean, I don't know, I feel like it's comedy every time he opens his mouth or tweets. Then you will probably enjoy this SNL episode. Yeah. I thought that this topic was fantastic just because it, like I said, I love crossovers, especially the unexpected ones, and let me tell you, this was a crossover I did not see coming. We're going to have Miley Cyrus, Elon Musk, and SNL in one unit. I can't make that any better. I can't add to that. So there you go. You have all the details. You have a few rabbit trails. You have toes and rings and hats and all that jazz. And I don't know where any of them belong. But that's it. That is today's episode of eSpot Live. Hopefully it's been an amusing one for you. I just want to thank you all. I I wish I could come up with, like, a new way to say it. But, thank you. Like, thank you for your support of me and, eSpot Live, as well as Elevated. I really just appreciate it. Thank you for your support of Devious Eye Entertainment. We are still working on some really exciting things. New album up, Zombie in a Jar. And some really, really exciting stuff coming up that I cannot necessarily talk about. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all of your support, for being involved, for chatting with me, for throwing out ideas. I appreciate all of it. I will be back. I'll be back on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So I did, obviously if you're here, you've noticed, but if you're watching this back, I did shift the time of eSpot Live. And now it's at 9 p.m. That's going to be 6 p.m. if you live on the West Coast. I'm saying a lot of ums because I had an idea of how this outro is going to go and then I just lost it. So here we are. Thank you. 9 o'clock Thursday. See you then. I hope that you guys have a fantabulous week. There was another for you. Oh gosh, I just watched the bit of How I Met Your Mother where they had the drinking game, and I feel like that's what I'm doing right now. Shots. Anyways, no, water. Drink water. We'll do that. I can't make this any better than it already is. You're welcome. Bye.